viewers, and welcome back to SaharaTV. Now on the phone is Mr. Daniel Walters of the Inlander newspaper. Mr. Daniel Walters, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So please tell me, while working on the story, did you ever think it was gonna get the recognition that it's getting right now?
Not at all. Most of the stuff that we were working on initially was mostly about the hate crimes that were alleged. We were looking into that locally, not necessarily. There were rumors that she was lying about her race, but I didn't find those rumors credible initially. And so when it actually broke that she had been lying about her race, I had no idea that it would blow up this big, and it really surprised us how big it got. I mean, it's not surprising in retrospect because of all the issues that it touches upon, just as far as identity and race and truth and things like that. But no, we had no idea this would become such an international story when we were working on it initially.
Wow. So for our viewers watching right now, can you please give them a sense of the Spokane community?
Yeah, the Spokane community, there's variations. Some people are upset, some people are kind of amused. There's a lot of people, though, that feel pretty betrayed, that have defended her and been allies with her and even marched beside her in rallies supporting her. So when this came out, initially some of those people continued to defend her, but as more and more evidence came out, they felt really hurt. And they felt especially hurt that instead of addressing the Spokane community specifically, she flew off to New York and did interviews there, as opposed to really answering the questions from journalists like myself and from the community that she's said that she's cared about.
Okay, so we understand also that you've been reporting on the story, on the Rachel Dolezal story, extensively, and you've also covered the allegations that she's made of her wrongfully being harassed by police. Can you please give us insights on that?
Yeah, sure. It's not that she hasn't made allegations about being harassed by police, but she has made allegations that there's a bunch of hate crimes against her. She said that there's been 8 or 9 documented hate crimes. The journalists, myself and other journalists, haven't been able to corroborate that number. But the issue is there is a lot of the claims that she's made are particularly suspicious, or they have problems with them. For example, there was a swastika that was placed on the Human Rights Education Institute where she worked in 2010. When that swastika was placed, the camera had been turned off or wasn't working. That's one of the things that I found suspicious initially. Then there was the issue of claiming that something was a noose, that her neighbor says that he told her that was just a rope used to hang deer. There's the issue of her claiming that she had been invaded by these violent people in her home, when in reality it seemed like there's people that were lost and got the wrong address, and her son wasn't scared at all in that case. There's a lot of situations where her claims didn't necessarily match what the police reports actually discovered.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we also understand that Rachel is no longer employed by the Inlander, which you are also a staff of. Can you please tell us about her role there in the paper?
Yeah, she was a freelancer, so she would write columns for us on a semi-regular basis, just from her perspective. She wrote a lot of columns about race and being a black feminist and things like that. And so her columns would get a lot of negative feedback from viewers, but we did want to have that perspective. So when these things, these allegations came out and she refused to call us back, my editor made the decision that she would no longer be continuing in that role.
Okay, so did you have any personal interactions with her while she worked there?
No, I hadn't. She came to the office very rarely, but I don't think I've had any personal interactions with her at all. I did have my suspicions, and so I started digging into her, kind of asking for police reports and things like that back in March. But yeah, no, I didn't have many interactions with her there.
So as a reporter in the Spokane community, I know you have a unique perspective on the impact of this story. Can you please tell us the Spokane community's response to this story?
Yeah, a lot of it is anger. A lot of people in Spokane feel betrayed. A lot of the people in Spokane feel disappointed that this is sort of derailed a lot of the progress and a lot of the excitement about social justice and things like that in Spokane. So I mean the reaction is going to be varied, of course, in a community, but I think most people have come around to feeling pretty upset about this. I can't necessarily speak for myself, but I can I have seen a lot of comments on Facebook and such. A lot of the people want to a lot of people want to shine the spotlight now on a lot of the people that have been active in terms of fighting racism, like Tony Lodge with the Native Project and the person with the Martin Luther King Center, to really focus the attention on these people that are doing good things and aren't don't have these allegations against them, as opposed to continuing to talk about Rachel Dolezal. But I expect to continue to report on this as it continues, because it is an important local story.
Okay, so speaking of local, do you think the national coverage that this story has received had an impact on the locals in terms of their reaction?
Probably. I think it made people a lot more. I don't know. It's been frustrating for a lot of people to see the community associated with this. I think for a lot of people locally, I've seen that reaction locally. People frustrated that that Spokane is what is kind of this target of mockery, that it's this that it's not getting attention for the good things, it's getting attention for this scandal, that we were duped, things like that. So I think national coverage has been particularly frustrating, especially as it's dug into more puerile and less relevant aspects. I think some people have been disappointed with that.
So Rachel was respected, especially at the caliber of her being employed by the NAACP. Do you think the Black or African American community is, disappointed?
I've interviewed some of them. I can't speak for all of them themselves, and obviously any community has various voices, and so that's what I've heard as well. I've heard some people that believe that the work that she did with the NAACP, particularly rejuvenating and attracting more young people, connecting the NAACP with other white progressive organizations, that ended up really. That was a really good thing, and they're disappointed to see that derailed and paused. Other people, the African American community, they've told me that they were upset at Rachel and felt that she was divisive and destructive even before this broke, and so now they're particularly upset. And some of the people that were her friends and supporters now feel betrayed and have signed petitions, that encouraged her to at least take a leave of absence from the NAACP before she resigned. So there's a lot of varied reactions, and I think the community is still kind of struggling with how to react to her legacy. Especially even before this happened, she was particularly divisive. There was a very long whistleblower complaint filed about her actions with the Office of the Police Ombudsman Commission that showed her being particularly controlling and destructive in her role in that aspect as well.
Okay, so being that she's been involved in civil rights and discrimination issues extensively in the Spokane community, what role do you think let me rephrase the question. Do you think she should continue playing that role?
I think there's a lot of, I haven't heard anyone with the community express desire for her to continue playing that role.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of people that have expressed desire for her not to continue playing that role, just particularly with the belief that there are other people. She's not the only. There are actual Black people in Spokane, first of all, but she's also not the only activist here. She's not the only person that's been pushing for these things. There's a lot of other people that can take up that banner who don't have all these questions swirling around her.
All right, so before you leave us, is there anything that you feel that, our viewers should know about this story? and it's unfolding?
Just that in this community, the question over her identity, is it okay for her to identify as Black, that hasn't really been as relevant to the people I've seen in Spokane as it has been to the national media. Particularly locally, it's more of a question of, did she lie? Did she, fake these hate crimes? Did she, put herself in this role in a dangerous capacity and ended up hurting the causes that she was fighting for? Those are the questions that people in Spokane really seem to be looking at from what I've seen.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Walters.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Stay tuned, viewers. That was Mr. Daniel Walters, a staff writer at Inlander, and we'll be right back.